The gate cracked under Ikem's fist and Nedima was already moving. Somto, get up now. She yanked the 7-year-old out of bed by the wrist. His cartoon pajamas twisted around his knees and pressed her palm over his mouth before he could ask why. Mommy, waiting. No questions, move. 3 men were shouting Ikem's name at the front door, banging so hard the burglary-proof rattled in its frame. Nedima shoved her son through the back window first, climbed out after him with her wrapper catching on a nail, and pulled him low behind Mama Ngozi's store as the first torchlight swept across the compound. They will not find us here, she whispered, more to herself than to him. Her heart was slamming so hard she could feel it in her teeth. Somto was crying without sound, the way children learn to cry when noise is dangerous. She held him against her chest and watched the men kick open a door that no longer had anyone behind it. If you are just joining this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what happens to Nedima in the next 20 minutes will make you sit up. Drop a like if you are already invested. Now, let's go back, because this woman did not start out running from her own gate. 3 years earlier, Ikem had knelt in front of a poultry stand with mud on his trousers and a ring he could barely afford, and Nedima had laughed so hard she almost said no, just to keep him kneeling a little longer. Ikem, get up. Everybody is watching us. Let them watch. I want the whole market to hear it. Nedima, will you marry me? She'd said yes with her hands shaking, and that night, under the single bulb in his one-room apartment, he'd kissed her slow and certain, his hands framing her face like she was something he was afraid to break. I don't have plenty money now, he told her against her forehead, but I will build something, you will see. I'm not marrying your money, Ikem. I'm marrying you. They sold Akara together at 5 in the morning, splitting the profit down to the last coin, laughing over burnt batches, kissing in the smoke of the frying oil when they thought no one was watching. Somto came a year later, and Ikem carried him through the compound, announcing to every neighbor that this is my son, my only son, the one who will carry my name far. For a while, Nedima believed tomorrow could only get better. She was wrong about how it would arrive. The transport business Ikem started with 2 rickety buses grew faster than either of them expected. Within 18 months, he had 6 buses and an office with air conditioning, and a woman named Zikora managing his logistics. She's very good with numbers, Ikem said one night, not looking up from his phone. I didn't ask, Nedima said. You are thinking it. I can feel you thinking it. She wanted to tell him that a wife knows before she's told, that she'd felt the shift the way you feel rain coming before the first drop falls. Instead, she said nothing and went to check on Somto's homework, because some silences are just delaying an argument you already know you will lose. The nights grew longer. Ikem's phone grew a passcode it never used to have. He started coming home smelling like a perfume that wasn't hers, and when he asked, he laughed it off with the same charm he used to kneel in front of a poultry stand with. Nedima, you are imagining things. Is it a crime to have female staff now? I didn't say staff, Ikem. I said perfume. He didn't answer that one. Then came the morning he didn't bother explaining anything at all. Nedima was mid-shift at the small food store she still ran on the side, hands deep in a pot of stew, when she looked up and saw him walking into the compound with Zikura beside him, carrying an empty box like he was there to collect something that belonged to him. Ikem, what is this? I'm taking my things, he said, not meeting his eyes. It's better this way. Somto ran out from the corridor and Ikem couched down smiling like nothing was breaking. Somto, say hello to Auntie Zikora. Nedima's stew stopped mid-stare. She didn't scream, she didn't throw the pot, though every part of her wanted to. She wiped her hands on her wrapper, went into the room, packed the rest of his things herself, folded each shirt with more care than he deserved, and set the box outside the gate. Take your box and go, Ikem. Nedima, can we at least talk about this? Like, there's nothing to talk about. You already decided. I'm only closing the door you opened. He stood there for a long moment, like he expected her to break first. She didn't. She shut the gate and locked it. And it was that same gate, months later, hollowed out by debt Ikem never told her about, that 3 angry men would come pounding on before dawn, looking for a man who no longer lived there, but had left his wife's name on every paper he signed. Comment below and tell me where you are watching this from, because Nedima's story is about to take a turn nobody in this comment section will see coming. Morning came grey and thin over the market, and Nedima finally let herself breathe once the men's torchlight disappeared down the road. Somto was shivering against her, his small fingers twisted into her wrapper. Mommy, why did those men want to break our house? They were looking for your father's money, she said quietly. Not our money, his. Is Daddy in trouble? Daddy is always in trouble, Somto. That's the difference between us.
She didn't tell him the rest, that Ikem had used their house as collateral for a loan he never repaid, that his transport business had collapsed under debt he'd hidden even from Zikora, and that the men banging on the gate weren't the first and wouldn't be the last. She only knew because the supplier had warned her weeks earlier, in the market, voice low like he was passing her contraband instead of information. Madam, I'm only telling you because you have a child. Your husband owes plenty people. Protect yourself. She had wanted to laugh at the word husband. On paper, yes. In every way that mattered, Ikem had stopped being her husband the day he set a box outside her store. By the time the sun was fully up, Nedima had made a decision standing in the dust behind Mama Ngozi's store. She took Somto home only long enough to gather what mattered, a folder of her old customer orders, a small pot, 2 wrappers, and a tin where she kept whatever coins she could spare, and moved into her cousin's boys' quarters across town before nightfall. You are running away, Nedima, her cousin said, arms folded, more worried than judgmental. This is not small thing. I'm not running from anything. I'm running towards something. There's a difference. She started that week with 1 burner, 1 pot, and a delivery list scribbled on the back of an old-school notebook. No shop, no signage, just her food and her word. She cooked jollof so good her first 10 customers told 10 more, and within a month she had a waiting list longer than her patience for people who didn't pay on time. Still, 1 burner could only stretch so far. She needed capital, and there was only one person she could think of asking. Auntie Patricia, is just a small loan. I will pay back with interest, I promise. Auntie Patricia looked at her over the rim of her reading glasses, calculating something Nedima could already sense wasn't in her favor. I can help you, Nedima, but let me be the one to manage the money side. You cook, I handle sales, I handle customers, we split everything 60-40. 60 for you? Of course for me, I'm the one giving the capital. Nedima felt something in her chest go still and cold. Auntie, that's not a loan. That's you owning my business and letting me work in it. Call it whatever you like. That's the offer. Then I don't want it.
Nedim stood, gathered her bag, and walked out of her aunt's parlour with her hands trembling and her stomach hollow with fear, because she genuinely did not know where the next capital would come from. But she knew exactly what it would cost her to accept what had just been offered. That night, alone after Somto had fallen asleep, she recorded a voice note to herself, thumb hovering over the microphone for a long moment before she finally spoke. Nedima, you did not come this far to hand your name to somebody else again. Whatever tomorrow brings, you will meet it standing. Tomorrow will be better. Say it until you believe it. She saved it, and she would return to it more times than she would admit to anyone. 2 weeks of standing on principle and stretching what little she had left, and Nedim began to wonder if dignity alone could feed a child. Then her phone rang from a number she didn't recognize. Good afternoon. Is this Nedim, the one who does the jollof for delivery? Yes, speaking. My name is Mrs. Bosinuafo. I coordinate events, weddings mostly. My cousin ordered from you last week and I tasted it at her house. I have never in my life eaten jollof like that outside my grandmother's kitchen. Nedim gripped the phone tighter, willing her voice not to shake. Thank you, ma. That means a lot. I have a wedding in 6 weeks. 200 guests. Are you able to handle that kind of number? For a moment, Nedim couldn't answer. 200 guests was 10 times anything she'd cooked for in her life. But she thought of the notebook full of names, the discipline of every single order logged and remembered, the nights she trained herself not to waste a single ingredient. Yes, ma, I can handle it. Good. Let's meet Thursday to discuss numbers. She hung up the phone and sat very still for a long moment, and then she laughed. A real laugh, the kind that comes from somewhere deep and surprised, the kind she hadn't let herself feel in months. If Nedim's turnaround is giving you chills, smash that like button right now. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is your sign. Because what happens when Ikem finds out about her success is coming up, and it is not what you are expecting. Comment Team Nedim if you are rooting for her. 6 weeks became a blur of trial batches, supplier negotiations, and Mrs. Bosinuafo's exacting palette. Nedim hired 2 young women from the compound to help with prep, trained them the way she wished someone once trained her, with patience, with respect, with clear instructions repeated until they stuck.
By the time wedding day arrived, she had cooked for 200 guests out of a borrowed canopy kitchen, and not one plate came back with complaints. "Nedim, I don't know how to thank you," Mrs. Bosi said, squeezing her hand at the end of the night. "You will hear from me again, and I will be sending your name to everyone I know." She kept that promise. Within 3 months, Nedim's phone didn't stop ringing. She moved out of the one-burner setup into a proper rented kitchen space with 2 extra burners and a small fridge she had saved months for. She named it Tomorrow's Table because some words deserve to be worn out loud rather than whispered only to yourself at night. "Mommy, is this really our own kitchen?" Somto asked, running his small hand along the counter like it might disappear if he touched it too hard. "Yes, my dear. Every pot in here, we own it. Nobody can walk in and take a box from us again." He looked up at her, confused by the reference but comforted by her certainty, and hugged her waist the way he used to when he was smaller. Word of her success traveled faster than she expected, fast enough in fact to reach a man who once thought her incapable of surviving without him. Ikem showed up on a Tuesday afternoon, thinner than she remembered, his once sharp shirt now creased and a size too big. Nedim was mid-instruction to her staff when she saw him standing at the gate of her kitchen, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. "Nedim, can we talk?" "You are standing in front of my business, Ikem. Talk. I heard about everything, the wedding, the new space. I'm proud of you." "I didn't build this for your approval." He winced but pressed on, voice now lower, now almost pleading. "Things haven't been easy for me. The business collapsed. Zikora left when the money left. I've been thinking about us, about Somto, about what family really means." "Family," Nedim repeated, letting the word sit heavy between them. "You remember that word now when your pockets are empty?" "Nedim, please. I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve." "You are right, you don't." Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "I stood outside my own gate with our son in the dark because men came looking for debts you signed in my name without telling me. I begged nobody for capital that would have cost me my dignity. I built this with my 2 hands while you are busy choosing someone else over the family you already had. And now that the woman you chose has left, you want to walk back through a door you shut yourself. I made a mistake. You made a decision, Ikem. Mistakes are things that happen to you. This was something you did." She wiped her hand slowly on her apron, unhurried, as if the conversation had already cost her more time than it deserved. "I forgive you, I do. Carrying anger for you any longer would only slow me down, and I have too much ahead of me to be slowed down. But forgiveness is not the same as opening the gate again." He stood there for a long moment, searching her face for the crack he was used to finding. There wasn't one. "Somto will always know his father," she added, softer now, because cruelty was not her language even when she had every right to it. "But he will know him as someone who comes to see him, not someone who decides when we learn and when we don't." Ikem nodded slowly, something like understanding or perhaps just resignation settling into his shoulders. He turned and walked back through the gate he once carried a box out of, and this time Nedim didn't watch him go. She turned back to her kitchen, to the pot that needed stirring, to the daughter of a customer waiting patiently for her order, and to the life she had built stubbornly, deliberately, one order at a time. That evening, after closing, she sat with Somto on the small bench outside their new kitchen, the smell of stew still clinging to her apron, and she pulled out her phone and played the old voice note one more time, her own voice, tired but certain, telling her that tomorrow would be better. "Was that you, Mommy?" Somto asked, resting his head against her arm. "That was me on a day I didn't believe myself yet," she said, smiling, "but I said it anyway, and look at us now." She kissed the top of his head, looked out at the kitchen sign glowing faintly under the street light, "Tomorrow's Table," and let herself simply sit in a peace she had earned every single day of the way there. If Nedim's story moved you, hit that like button right now and make sure you are subscribed because more stories like this are coming every single week. Drop a comment and tell me, where are you watching from tonight? And if you know somebody who needs to hear that tomorrow can actually be better, tag them below and share this with them. See you in the next one.